I'm 41 years old, married for 12 years, together for 15. We have one kid, a quiet house in the suburbs, and a routine so predictable it used to comfort me. I used to think that was what stability felt like. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic. Just life. My wife and I weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or at least that's what I told myself. We both worked, split responsibilities, argued about stupid things like money and whose turn it was to pick up groceries. Normal marriage stuff. I trusted her completely. I trusted my family completely. My younger brother was always around. He lived nearby after his divorce, and we helped him get back on his feet. Dinners, holidays, weekends. He was part of our everyday life, like furniture you don't even notice anymore. Looking back, that's the part that scares me the most, how normal everything felt. There was no dramatic tension, no sense of doom. No gut feeling screaming at me to pay attention. I was tired, busy, distracted, and convinced that love meant not questioning the people closest to you. If you had asked me back then what my biggest fear was, I would have said losing my job, or something happening to my kid. I never would have said losing my wife to my own brother. And yet that's exactly where this story goes. My brother, Mark, is 6 years younger than me. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the protector. After his divorce, he was fragile in a way I hadn't seen before, quieter, more introspective, almost gentle. My wife noticed that too. At first, I was grateful. She checked on him, invited him over, made sure he wasn't alone on weekends. I thought it was kindness. I thought it was family. They started talking more. Long conversations in the kitchen while I put our kid to bed. Texting during the day about random things, work stress, books, memories from childhood. I saw the messages occasionally. Nothing explicit. Just close. There were red flags. I see them now with painful clarity. She defended him more than she defended me during arguments. She remembered tiny details about his life but forgot things I told her. When I joked about her favorite brother-in-law, she got weirdly defensive. I ignored it all. Part of it was trust. Part of it was ego, the belief that something like that couldn't happen to me. And part of it was exhaustion. I didn't want to fight shadows. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself closeness didn't mean betrayal. That denial would cost me everything. Things shifted slowly, like a crack forming under paint. You don't notice it until it's already spread. She started dressing differently when Mark came over. Nothing dramatic, just effort. Makeup on nights she usually skipped it. Clothes she hadn't worn in years. When I asked, she said she was trying to feel better about herself. They shared inside jokes I didn't understand. I'd walk into a room and conversations would abruptly stop. Not guiltily, just quietly, like they forgot I existed for a second. Once I overheard her say, "You deserve to be happy too," in a tone that felt too intimate. When I asked what that was about, she said he was struggling and she was being supportive. I believed her. I also noticed distance between us. Less affection. Less patience. She seemed irritated by my presence, like I was interrupting something just by being there. I blamed stress. Work. Parenting. The usual excuses people use to avoid uncomfortable truths. Looking back, I think part of me knew. But acknowledging it would have meant questioning my wife and my brother at the same time. And I wasn't ready to accept that both could betray me. The doubt didn't hit all at once. It crept in quietly, through something stupid and small. She left her laptop open one night. I wasn't snooping. I swear that. A notification popped up while I was passing by, Mark's name. A message preview. I can't stop thinking about what we talked about. That was it. No emojis. No hearts. Just that sentence. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might throw up. I didn't open the message. I just stood there, staring at the screen, heart pounding, trying to convince myself there was an innocent explanation. There wasn't. That night I barely slept. Every memory replayed itself in a new light. Every laugh, every look, every moment I had brushed off. The next day, I paid attention for the first time. Really paid attention. The way she checked her phone. The way she smiled at messages and then hid the screen. The way she avoided eye contact with me. Suspicion turned into certainty before I even had proof. And once that door opened, there was no closing it again. A week later, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her messages. I know that's wrong. I know people will judge me for that. But at that point, I needed the truth more than I needed to feel morally clean. What I found wasn't graphic. In some ways, that made it worse. Pages of emotional intimacy. Confessions. Late-night thoughts. What-if conversations. Regrets about timing. Longings they both tried, and failed, to disguise as friendship. And then the line that shattered me. If we really did this, we'd have to leave. A new city. A clean start. I felt numb. Cold. Like I was watching someone else's life implode. They hadn't slept together. At least, not yet. But emotionally, they were already gone. I sat on the floor and cried silently, because even then, some stupid part of me didn't want to wake her. That's how broken I already was. I confronted her that same night because I knew if I waited, I'd lose my nerve. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, the TV on but muted. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on them. I didn't ease into it. I didn't ask gentle questions. I went straight for the truth. Are you in love with my brother? The silence that followed was unbearable. Not confusion. Not anger. Just pure, naked panic. Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally said, "It's not that simple." That was it. That was the moment my chest caved in. I asked her again, slower this time, like maybe she hadn't heard me. Are you in love with him? She started crying before she answered. Ugly crying. The kind where your body betrays you before your words do. I didn't mean for this to happen, she said. I never planned it. It just grew. I asked how long. She said months. Months. Entire seasons of my life where I was present but irrelevant. When I asked about the city, her eyes darted away. That single movement destroyed whatever hope I still had. Yes, she whispered. We talked about it. Just hypothetically. Hypothetical plans to erase me. I remember screaming. I remember pacing. I remember asking how she could look at me every day and lie. She kept saying nothing physical had happened, like that was supposed to save us. At some point I realized she was crying because she got caught, not because she hurt me. And that realization felt like swallowing glass. The days after felt unreal, like I was trapped inside someone else's body. I couldn't sleep. When I did, I woke up gasping, heart racing, replaying conversations from years ago and wondering what else I'd missed. Food tasted like nothing. Music made me angry. Silence made me spiral. I oscillated between wanting to destroy everything and wanting to beg her to stay. I felt humiliated in a way I didn't know was possible. Being cheated on is one thing. Being emotionally replaced by your own brother is another level of degradation. Every memory became suspect. Family dinners. Holidays. Jokes I thought were harmless. I started questioning whether I was ever really part of my own marriage. The shame was the worst part. Shame for trusting too much. Shame for not seeing it. Shame for still loving her. I'd look at myself in the mirror and think, how did I become this guy? Some nights I sat in my car after work just to avoid going home. Other nights I sat on the edge of the bed listening to her breathe and wondered when she stopped choosing me. I felt weak for not walking out immediately. I felt stupid for still caring. Mostly, I felt disposable. Meeting my brother was harder than confronting my wife. With her, there was history and love and shared responsibility. With him, there was rage layered over decades of loyalty. We met in a parking lot like criminals. He looked smaller somehow. Broken. Guilty. And I hated that it almost made me feel sorry for him. He didn't deny anything. That somehow made it worse. He said he never meant for it to go this far. That he admired her. That she understood him, in ways others didn't. I asked him if he understood what he was doing to me. He said he did now. I asked him how long they'd been talking about leaving. He said it wasn't real. Just thoughts. Dreams. That word again. Dreams. I reminded him that my entire life was built on those dreams. When he begged me not to tell our parents, something inside me hardened permanently. You don't get to ask for mercy, I said. Not from me. Walking away from him felt like amputating a limb. Necessary. Permanent. Traumatizing. I lost my brother that day. Not because of anger, but because I couldn't survive loving him anymore. After everything exploded, I was left alone with my thoughts, and they were merciless. I replayed every moment where I might have failed as a husband. Every night I chose work over connection. Every time I thought stability was enough. Then I hated myself for thinking that way. I realized betrayal rewires your brain. You stop trusting your memories. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop trusting yourself. I'd ask myself insane questions like, if I had been more exciting, would she still be here? Then immediately feel disgusted for even considering it. I felt old. Outdated. Like a safe option that got replaced by something shinier and more emotionally intense. Some days I wanted to fix everything. Other days I wanted to disappear entirely. I'd swing from numbness to rage without warning. I cried in grocery stores. I snapped at coworkers. I felt like I was constantly on the edge of losing control. The scariest part was how small my world became. Pain shrinks you. We tried to salvage it. Or at least, we tried to look like we were trying. Couples therapy was brutal. Sitting in a room explaining my humiliation to a stranger while she framed it as confusion made me feel insane. She said she cut off contact with him. I nodded. I said okay. Inside, I didn't believe a word. Trust doesn't just break, it dissolves. Quietly. Completely. I hated who I was becoming. Checking phones. Noticing tone changes. Reading into everything. I didn't want to be a warden in my own marriage. One night, it hit me, even if she stayed, she had already left. And I deserved more than being someone's fallback choice. I didn't tell my parents right away. I wanted to protect them. Or maybe I wanted to protect myself from seeing the disappointment in their faces. But secrets have a way of leaking out. My mother figured it out first. She called me one evening and asked, very softly, "Are you and your wife okay?" I didn't answer fast enough. She knew. When the truth came out, it hit my family like a bomb. My mom cried the kind of tears that come from feeling like she failed as a parent, even though none of this was her fault. My dad barely spoke for weeks. When he finally did, it was just to say he never expected this from his own son. Holidays became awkward and fractured. People started choosing sides without ever saying it out loud. Some family members tried to stay neutral, which somehow hurt even more. My brother stopped coming around. I stopped asking where he was. The worst part was watching my child absorb the tension. Kids don't need details to know something is wrong. They feel it in silences, in forced smiles, in rooms where love used to live freely. I hated that my private devastation turned into a family wound. I hated that my parents felt like they had to mourn something while both their sons were still alive. Nothing ever fully went back to normal. And I don't think it ever will. The separation didn't happen after one big fight. It happened after hundreds of small, quiet defeats. We stopped touching. Stopped laughing. Stopped asking each other real questions. We lived like roommates who shared a painful secret. One night she asked, "Do you think we can fix this?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be the kind of man who believes love conquers everything. But instead, I asked myself a different question. Do I want to spend the rest of my life wondering if I was almost replaced? That answer came easily. Packing my things felt surreal. I wasn't angry anymore. Just hollow. Like the emotional infrastructure of my life had collapsed, and I was walking through the rubble. She cried. I didn't. That scared me. When you stop crying, it's not because the pain is gone. It's because it's settled somewhere deeper. I moved into a small apartment. It echoed. Every sound reminded me that this wasn't how my life was supposed to look. The marriage didn't end with closure or clarity. It ended with resignation. And that's a different kind of grief. Life after betrayal is quieter than I expected. No dramatic revenge arc. No sudden rebirth. Just a long stretch of learning how to exist differently. I learned how to cook for one. How to sit with my thoughts without drowning in them. How to be present for my child without letting my bitterness leak out. Some days are fine. Genuinely fine. Other days, I feel like I'm standing behind glass, watching other people live fully while I remain slightly disconnected. Dating feels impossible. The idea of trusting someone again makes my chest tighten. I notice red flags everywhere now, sometimes real, sometimes imagined. I still think about my brother more than I'd like to admit. Not with longing, but with grief. Losing him wasn't just losing a person, it was losing the version of my life where family felt safe. I'm not angry all the time anymore. But I am changed. And I don't think that change will ever fully reverse. This experience taught me things I never wanted to learn. I learned that betrayal doesn't need secrecy or sex to destroy you. Emotional intimacy, when misplaced, is just as lethal. I learned that people will justify almost anything if it helps them avoid seeing themselves as the villain. I learned how dangerous denial can be, not just in others, but in myself. How many red flags I ignored because acknowledging them would have disrupted my comfort. I also learned that love doesn't guarantee loyalty. And trust, once broken, doesn't regenerate the way people claim it does. Mostly, I learned that pain doesn't always make you stronger. Sometimes it just makes you quieter. More cautious. More aware of how easily everything you build can collapse. I don't have a neat ending. No triumphant recovery. No moral wrapped in a bow. I'm still carrying this. Some nights, I lie awake wondering who I'd be if this never happened. If I'd still believe in permanence. In forever. In the idea that family is unbreakable. Other nights, I'm grateful I know the truth, even if it came at a devastating cost. If there's anything I'd say to someone reading this, it's not advice. It's a confession. Sometimes the people you trust most are capable of hurting you in ways strangers never could. And sometimes survival doesn't look like healing. Sometimes it just looks like continuing to live, with the awareness, the scars, and the quiet resolve to never ignore yourself again.